Let me apologize for starting the program a little bit behind schedule. Hello and thank you for joining us on the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the program, President Buhari insists no date yet for the reopening of Nigeria's land borders, says drill not targeted at any region. South Africa police officer jailed 32 years for killing a Nigerian. And later on the show, court orders interim forfeiture of SARAKI'S 1 billion naira house in Ilorin as former Senate President kicks. I'll be hanging out with Olayinka Oyegbile. In the course of the program, Martins Oloja will also be joining us. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us. Christmas, with its attendant hike in prices of goods and services, is just 22 days away. Now, fears are rife in the country about rising prices of food products occasioned by the partial closure of the country's land borders. But President Muhammadu Buhari says there is no date yet for the reopening of the borders and they would remain closed until the situation improves. The said reopening of the borders depends largely on the ability of neighboring countries to comply with the rules governing the cross-border trade. The president also explained that the closure, which is temporary, measured by the Nigerian Customs Service to curb smuggling, is not targeted at any region or group. Yinka, we are at the receiving end, and as we move towards the Yuletide season, the demand for rice, turkey, chicken, those things that ordinarily we depend on our neighboring countries, or those things that is normally imported into this country. The demand will double. Somebody was telling me, I can't confirm it, that a bag of rice at a point in time, they are selling it 28,000 naira. And as we move towards the Yuletide, things we might face, this kind of inflation because of the closure of the border. So looking at the cost and effects.
Well, you see, everything should not be tied down to the fact that the borders are closed. We all know that rather than in other parts of the world, when the Yuletide season brings down the prices of things, in Nigeria, prices of things go up. What am I saying? The border closure, we have been talking about it all this while. People believe it has made prices of goods to go up, but I also believe that it has its own benefits. For instance, a colleague recently traveled to Kano.
Okay, let me just halt you there. Martins Oloja will be joining us, and after we'll take it from there. Stay with us, please. Thank you for joining us. This is Journalist Hangout. Martin, I know Lagos traffic these days, and we appeal to the governor of Lagos State and those people in charge of traffic in Lagos State. Somebody told me that actually spent 5, 6, 7 hours traffic in Lagos State.
Yeah, definitely. You know, that's a way of life, but we are living with it. But what the Assembly did recently when they appealed to construction workers to consider working from 11 to 5 a.m. And then asking police not to be compounding the problems by stopping people to check particulars. I think what the Assembly did is good, and they should also embrace the discipline of execution of what they have resolved to do.
Towards getting a greater Lagos there.
Yes.
And then we're talking about the effects of border closure as we move towards Yuletide.
As I was saying, a colleague recently traveled to Kano, and she brought back almost a truckload of rice grown in Kano, selling for about 20,000 naira. Okay. What am I saying? The thing is that people always talk about rice costing so much and all that, 27,000, 30,000 and all that. Yes, the one that she brought might be because she bought it in bulk or whatever and she's selling it at that price. But the truth of the matter is that the Nigerian variety of rice, we have said it several times without number. Is it Ibile rice or Ibima rice or
Abakaliki rice?
The Lagos one, what's that?
Lake rice.
Lake rice. honestly, when you eat them, you know that you are eating something different. I don't like rice for one. But since this one came and I've been eating it, it tastes better and fresher. So for those who insist on taking foreign rice, we should all remember that in our own little ways, those are the ways we are contributing to the economic adversity of the country. Because you might think, how much is rice or what is rice? It counts. A little drop of water makes a mighty ocean. That's what the cliche says. So the closure of the border, is it turkey that we cannot rear in this country? Is it chicken? I mean, goat, I know very much about Ota and some part of Ikorodu. Go to all those places and see the way people are rearing chicken and turkey. So what is wrong with that? Those ones are even fresher.
Can we meet our own consumption?
No. On commercial basis. I would not like to mention a particular farm that raises all these in Ota because of the commercial. It will not be an unmerited advert. But there are people raising all these things locally, and when you see them, you lift it up like this, very heavy and very nutritious, rather than the one that had been killed how many months ago, and they use formalin or whatever they say to preserve them and keep them in their mug and bring them here. These are the ways that we need, these are things we need to do, and we need to turn back in and think of how are we going to help our country. We are not helping the government, we are helping ourselves. I support wholeheartedly the issue of closure of border, because even look at vehicles. How many vehicles, what is the volume or the number of vehicles that are being driven in Benin Republic and other countries? Have you ever been to the airports? Do you see the vast number of vehicles that are imported? How many of them ride?
They don't have the purchasing power.
Exactly. All those things come to Nigeria, and they have a way of taking away our resources. There are things that we need to do that we cannot do because of all those things. And also, the government needs to also work on itself. India now has Toyota assembly plants. Why can't Nigeria have? I mean, with the volume of Toyota cars that are being driven in Nigeria, and if you go to the north, the volume of the numbers of Honda cars that have been driven there, what is wrong? Why can't we have Toyota assembly plant somewhere in the south, Honda assembly plant somewhere in the north? Nigeria must talk to these manufacturers and see the way we can go about
Martins, let me come to you now. Now, when you look at the relationship between Nigeria and Republic of Benin, I think I can't describe it as smooth right now because of, you know, at several times the Nigerian authority, we've reached out to its Benin counterparts, and they've refused to curb those things that will stop making Nigeria like a dumping ground.
Well, you know, a former, on a very serious note, you know, even with the way he doesn't like people, or with the way they don't like him, even, I mean, former President Obasanjo recently said that people should not listen to Benin Republic. Yeah. That even in his days, that he had to talk to the president of Benin Republic. That the way this, Soglo, that the way your people were doing this, that they had a number of meetings, but the meetings did not come to anything. He shed that light on this cross-border trade. We shouldn't bother ourselves with what Benin is saying. We should bother ourselves with doing the right thing at this time, because it's just that the way government is providing public communication, orientation on this thing for people to understand, is not so organized. While an agency like the custom will be telling us from the point of revenue generation, you know, there should be strategic communication on the implications of whatever they are doing on the economy. Not, we are making so much money on this. That's not the point. The point is the implication. The point that the president was making in Daura was very good, but it shouldn't take only the president. There are people who are concerned with this thing. There are so many agencies. There should be interagency planning and communication to allow Nigerians to know that, yes, this is what farmers, local farmers, as he said, are making. And even if we are not there now, we shouldn't wait to be there, to be self-sufficient before we do something that will make us to be a self-reliant nation, to be self-sufficient in food production. If we want to wait until we are able to get sufficiency in rice production and so many of these things, we will not be there. Even India that he mentioned, one of their leaders once said that if India could not make enough textile to clothe itself, it should go naked. Why should we be importing rice? The information has always been consistent, and even Benin Republic has still refuted it, that Benin Republic is the biggest importer of rice in the world. What is their population? And what is their target? What is their market? The market is Nigeria. And so most of the people who are making so much noise about this thing, do this thing, do this thing, well, they have their own point, but government has a responsibility to explain to the people, not from the point of revenue, but on implications of what is happening on the economy. And what they are preparing Nigeria for, they are preparing us for self-sufficiency. It's not just about the president talking or to say it's APC or all this thing. We are talking about Nigeria. We are talking about the future of our economy. We are talking about the implications of this thing. But the way people do not understand, they say on some occasions, in some of our meetings, people have raised the question of whether borders in the north were closed. We just got information now that even the Niger Republic, the president of Niger, even punished some of their officials on this thing. So that is why government needs to get strategic information management on this thing, so that people will not be carried away by propaganda against this policy. They need to communicate effectively.
I'll talk like an average Nigerian now.
Okay.
We want to celebrate, and we're looking at the purchasing power of Nigerians. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the inflation rate has gone up since the closure of this border. And how can government cushion these effects? Foodstuff, things are just, in terms of prices, skyrocketing.
See, as I said earlier on, we should not use this closure of border as an alibi for prices of things going up. Yes, it has. But cast your mind back to 15 years ago, when it is Christmas time, things go up. In other parts of the world, prices calm down because people want to sell old stock and bring in new stock. But in Nigeria, it goes up. So if the prices of things are going up, it is just following the normal course of life. I don't see anything. Not to buy
a bag of rice for 25,000. Inka.
See, I mean, even if the borders were not closed.
In this same country, 4 or 5 years ago, that same bag of rice was 9,000.
Wait.
10,000.
Last year, the borders were not closed. If normally rice sold from January to August, 9,000, in December, it was 10 or thereabout. So it's a normal Nigerian phenomenon. As far as I'm concerned, I don't see anything. Look, if actions are not taken now, as Martin said, we will continue to say that we have not produced enough. We have been hearing this, that we have not produced enough for 50 years and more.
Okay, I have my first caller. Raman is calling us from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Raman.
Yeah, how are you, Osubaku?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, I want to, first of all, appreciate the job you are doing. That is a good job.
Thank you.
And I also want to comment on the comments of the both of your visitors today, on your two guests.
Okay.
The two are putting on cap, if I'm not mistaken. They actually saying what is going on. But most importantly, government must come with clean hands in terms of educating Nigerians over this issue. Many of us are not informed, or we have been misinformed. Government should be forced to educate us better. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your submission, Rahman. I think that's part of our responsibility.
Exactly.
That's what we are doing.
Exactly. You know, so prices do go up anytime there's any Yuletide. Even when there is Salah, when there's anything, prices must go up.
Not
That's
at this
the
rate.
Nigerian Ayo. Where even, God spare us, by this time next year, we are still going to talk about the same thing. Prices going up. It's the same. Look, it's the greediness of the Nigerian of Nigerians. Clear. If you check online now, in the US, in UK, and everywhere, prices of things are coming down because people want to dispose the old stock and bring in new one. But in Nigeria, we see that okay, people are going to celebrate Christmas. That's why people go into debt. They will celebrate Christmas. They will pay school fees. They will travel. They will do this. They will do that. So prices will go up. We should not use the closure of the border as an excuse to do that. Okay, when borders are closed, why is it? Are we importing tomatoes? Are we importing pepper? What other things are we importing that everything is going, prices of things are going up? It shouldn't be. But the usual way that many people think that, this is time everybody wants to eat rice, so the price must go up. If they increase the price of rice, by December 26th, Christmas is over. You can buy your rice and the price will come down.
Is it not worrisome that there's no timeline for this?
There is no timeline, in educating ourselves about this thing, because it's very difficult for us to understand. Before I answer that one, let me read. I read this thing before. We always read this thing when we discuss this thing at our editorial board meeting. Khalil Gibran says, pity the nation that is full of beliefs and empty of religion. Pity the nation that wears a cloth it does not weave and eats a bread it does not harvest, and so on and so forth. And it is like that. For us to deepen our understanding about the need to even endure some pains, for us to be self-sufficient. And I think it is our own responsibility. All of us, it's not just about government, for us to educate whoever on whatever we can meet to get people to understand this thing that, we will not enjoy this thing. The timeline you are talking about, that it doesn't have a date. It won't have a date as long as things are not right. If you blackmail the authorities into opening the borders, so business as usual, then the purpose would have been defeated.
Completely.
Just as we implore government to plug loopholes, reform its agencies that are involved in these things, we will continue to encourage them to do the right thing. But I will not subscribe to a situation where we force them because Christmas is coming, we need rice, we need this thing, they should open the borders, business as usual. Then it's business as usual. Business as usual is what has brought us to where we are.
Well, moving forward now. So, in terms of consumption, how are we doing? Rice, as in production?
Well, just as I said, that a colleague went to Kano and brought almost a truckload of rice. Rice is abundant there. I have brothers, I have family who are in the north who tell me this. Yes. Although, don't also forget that there are those whose psyche, as Fela would say, have been overtaken by colonial mentality. You have this local rice, but they will rebag it for those who want to say that they are eating the imported rice. And also people always say that, okay, those who are asking us to eat local rice, are they eating it in their homes and all that? The truth of the matter is that as long as you don't have access to their homes, or there is no public function where Nigerian rice is not served, we want to believe that they are doing what they asked us to do. And I don't say that because Ayo is eating foreign rice, I don't have the resources to eat it, then I must also buy it. No. You must do your things the way that suits you. And I believe that we have enough of this. Even in those days, I remember going to school, traveling by road from Jos to Kwara State. There is this vast land around Niger State where they grow rice. And I'm sure they are still doing it now, or at least with the resurgence of Nigeria-made rice. What we need to do, or what the government needs to do now is, how do we import rice millers that we don't have? Yeah. All those things are things that, because what is this foreign rice? It's because we are all grown lazy. We just want to cook rice and just pour it on fire and put. In those days, our mother used to use calabash to sieve it and let the stone. But nobody wants to do that. Okay. Technology has.
Rotimi is calling us from Lagos. Thank you for.
Evening,
yes, good evening, Rotimi. Go ahead to your contribution.
Yeah, I appreciate your topic this evening.
Yes.
But I want to ask, where is Babajide?
Babajide is unavoidably absent. By tomorrow, he's going to be with us.
All right, quickly, sir. I appreciate the analysis of your guest.
Okay.
But I'm not impressed by some of the postulation is given about some Nigerians thinking of. Hello?
Go ahead, Rotimi.
Yeah, about some Nigerians not wanting to eat local rice. That is not true. Please, let me understand this. You are giving us an example that a friend of yours imported rice from Kano. And it's
not imported,
at a rate of 20,000. That is a locally made rice. And you are justifying that by your assertion that your friend imported rice from Kano to Lagos. He brought almost a truckload and is selling at 20,000 naira. What is the cost of the production of that rice? That you are justifying the outrage cost of 20,000 naira for Nigeria. This is outrageous. You can't be stopping a portion of foreign rice and telling us the locally produced rice should cost as much as 20,000 naira to a Nigerian. And we are trying to justify that. This is wrong. Let the government do the right thing and let them appreciate Nigerians. The time is seriously tough for Nigerians right now. Let the price of the locally produced rice come down and let Nigeria move forward. Thank you. Good day.
Let me correct one thing.
Okay.
I'm not justifying 20,000. But what I'm saying is this. We must also think of the cost of production. Look, something you must produce, the price will come down. But perhaps whoever is
Why is that as expensive as that? 20,000 naira for a locally produced rice?
Well, I don't know the processes it went through. But I can assure you that it is as clean as the imported one. I don't know the processes and why it is that expensive. But for crying out loud, for whatever it is, if many people, if they have more customers, I'm sure the price will come down. I don't know how much it was sold in Kano. I don't know. You know the cost of freighting and all that too is part of it. So it also, it will tell on the price that it is being sold.
Yeah.
And even those who are buying it there, the price they are buying it, the margin is not too much from what I heard.
Definitely, you know that we need to put this thing, we need to appease our angry friends like the one who just called now. Yeah, they have the right to be angry.
Not happy that 20,000 naira. Yeah,
definitely. But
so
we should not forget certain things. It's not only rice. You know, we just reviewed at our editorial board level, we just reviewed a document about even China, that the starting point for fighting poverty is massive construction of good roads all over the country.
Thank you.
The cost of freighting, the cost of moving goods from one place to the other, they have a lot of this in Benue State, a lot of fruits other than rice.
In Niger State,
how do you get from Benue to even Abuja? How do you get from Benue to Benue, like Makodi? How do you get to from Benue to Taraba?
Yeah.
How do you get from Lagos to Abeokuta? How do you get from Abeokuta to Ibadan? These are the issues that government should address. It's not only talking to farmers. The cost of production too. We need people to be doing data analysis. So use data to analyze some of these things in order to do orientation that we have been talking about. We don't tell stories. We just generalize. The absence of critical road infrastructure in this country is largely responsible for high inflation of everything. All over the world, when we have festivals like this, you see prices crashing, people are attracting
they'll be doing
people, but
sales.
Nigeria,
It goes up.
you know, we need to understand this thing. This is Nigeria. It's a peculiar environment, but our political leaders have a responsibility to look at the information being given here that they need to improve critical infrastructure if they want to help these farmers. Because to move from here to Ekpe, to move from here to Abeokuta is still very difficult.
Very difficult indeed. Still to come, South African police officer jailed 32 years for robbing, killing Nigerian. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this time out. It's still Journalist Hangout. This is Journalist Hangout. We're reaching you live from Television Continental. Sometimes a dose of deterrence is all that is required to restrain people from perpetrating evil. The xenophobic attacks in South Africa against Nigerians and other African nationals appear to have died down after some reprimands. Now, a South African police constable, Austin Reynolds, who robbed and killed a Nigerian, Emeka Okoli, was on Monday sentenced to 32 years in prison by Durban High Court. The court sentenced Reynolds to 7 years for counts of robbery and 25 years for the murder of Okoli on the 18th of January 2018. The Nigerian Union in South Africa described the sentencing as a soothing balm in troubled times. Gentlemen, how will you react to this sentence? Because for a long time, the persecution has been there, and the relationship between Nigeria and South Africa has not been too cordial lately.
See, it's so sad. My heart goes out to the family of Emeka Okoli. Sentencing Reynolds to 32 years or whatever cannot bring him back. But I think it is a starting point. Because when offenses are committed and no punishment is meted out, it will encourage others to do the same thing again.
Justice is served now.
Yeah. Now, what has happened, we now should be a starting point for other things to follow. That people who do, even a criminal has a right to fair hearing. Look, even if a man is caught picking anything and is caught red-handed, the law does not say he must be punished at that point. You arrest him and subject him or her to prosecution. That is what the law says. Because if laws are going to be taken to our own hands, no one will be saved. So I think what the South African court has done is a very good thing and a very good way to start. What it means is that it has sent a signal both to Nigerians and South African law enforcement officers and everyone that, look, the law does not support this kind of treatment. A criminal has a right to fair hearing. So I think, as I said, our heart goes out to the family of the man who lost his life. It might serve as the touchstone to make sure that other Nigerians or other people don't undergo this kind of treatment in future.
Martin, is this not ironical that a police officer, that Austin Reynolds, that is meant to protect and safeguard lives and property, is now was accused of to have robbed and killed a Nigerian?
Yeah, definitely. You know, this is the kind of action that we need to see to ensure that there is peace, because this is the purpose of the law. You know, that there is no impunity. Whether you are a police officer, you are an officer of the law. And if you breach the law, if you overreach yourself, you face this kind of punishment. And, you know, it's unfortunate that somebody has lost his life. But as I've always quoted this Shakespearean saying here, that if you have any mercy or any kind of thing, any mercy that forgives a murderer encourages murder. So it's a signal to even law enforcement officers, be overzealous people who encourage these xenophobic attacks in this place, that, look, if you breach the law, if you kill anybody, if you do any kind of thing like this one, this is the kind of punishment that awaits you. All over the civilized world, you find this kind of action. Once you find that there is no culture of impunity, you will encourage these foreign direct investors that will come because they know that if there is a dispute between their company and anybody within that country, they know that the law rules are not man. The law rules are not man. The rule of law.
And that should be the case in all cases. So that should be the case. Because if you allow the man to rule and not the law,
will this in any way serve as deterrent to South Africans always looking for the flimsiest excuse to descend on Nigerians?
For those who will learn. Because if punishment is a way to deter people from committing crime, the world will have been free of crime by now. There are some people whose gene is always violating or who don't want to obey any law. But it will, to some extent, especially a law enforcement officer. I mean, if it were to be just an ordinary South African now, you might say that, okay, but a law enforcement officer, even if the man is guilty, and as a law enforcement officer, you know he's guilty, you can't be an accuser and the prosecutor in your own case. You hand him over to the law authorities and let them take good care of him by prosecuting him and sentencing him. His own job, if Okoli had committed any crime, was to provide evidence and things that would make him to... Because in actual fact, if South Africa still has death penalty in its own law, perhaps if the offense that Okoli committed were to be that grievous, perhaps he would be the one to die by the South African law. But the law enforcement officer took the law into his own hand, and he has to stew in his juice, as they say.
All right. Now, the relationship between Nigeria and South Africa, I think they've been able, our governments and through diplomacy, we've been able to reach a kind of compromise, and they've reduced to the barest minimum the rate of xenophobic attack.
Yes. This action is an icing on that cake. You know, because of the way they have managed it, even the president, when they signed a number of
agreements,
significant agreements that will even enable more Nigerians to do business, but without forgetting the fact that the authorities, they also drew attention to some of the businesses we should not be interested in. And this thing should not be lost on them. But as I said, this kind of action, punishment for this police, they didn't generalize it. They say 8 years for counts of robbery and 25 years for the murder of Okoli. And this is the kind of information that these investors, foreign investors, need to get into a country. And I think we should also borrow a leaf from this kind of action that these foreign investors we are looking for will want to see a country where there is no culture of impunity.
All right. Moving on now. In life, power is so transient that a once powerful man can suddenly become the haunted. Nigeria's former Senate President, Abubakar Bukola Saraki, has found himself in the murky waters of corruption trial with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. A federal high court sitting in Ikoyi, Lagos, has ordered the forfeiture of his Ilorin residence, claiming that it was acquired with proceeds of unlawful activities. But a statement by the special advisor to Saraki on media and publicity, Yusuf Olaniyonu, accused the EFCC of abusing court process and violating subsisting order of the Federal High Court in Abuja. Saraki has maintained that any claim that his Ilorin house was built by proceeds of fraud is outright falsehood. Yinka, do you want to bring us to speed of what this case is about?
Yeah, the case has been going on for some time. And I think for me, it is a good thing that it is happening. Good because it is a lesson, just as your introduction said, that power, we all know power is like a revolving door. You are either in or you are out. I like the judgment, one, as a person, not because it is Saraki, but because it is one of those who have been in power before. But the question is, why is it only now? Because the question that comes to mind, I remember in the newsroom yesterday when the news broke and we were discussing it, somebody said, would this have happened in 2015? Will it have happened in 2016? Is it because he has fallen out or they are falling apart? But my own reaction to that is, let it happen. It is Saraki today. Tomorrow it will be somebody else. If it happens to Saraki and another government that is not in favor of those who are in government today also comes to power another time, it will be the turn of one of them. But the enduring lesson we must learn there is that power is transient, and anybody that is in power, you must be very, very careful what you do. Because what I would like to happen now is that even those who are either holding power today or who are close or who have been in power before but are in the same ruling party today who has cases against them, the same pace or speed should be used to dispense with their cases. Because there were many of them. You will remember that some years back at NIAA, Nuhu Ribadu, as chairman of EFCC, came to a public forum and said he dangled a file that he has names of about 26 governors who are corrupt and they will be... Have they been prosecuted today? They have not. So we must... Look, the system must fight not individuals. The system must be done in a way that it is substance that it is going to fight, not individual. Because what we have seen here now is like when you're falling out, because we must say what people are saying, and some of it that some of us also agree with. It must not be that when you fall out, that is the time they will now remember, they will now go and dust your file and say that, oh, Olayinka Oyegbile stole 50,000 before. We are forgiving him. Now that he's no longer with us, we must bring out the file.
I think we should be, the EFCC, they have the onus to prove that, look, it's as a proceed of ill-gotten fund or government fund that the former Senate president used to purchase that house.
Yes. Definitely, you know, the court is doing its own. This is a federal high court. They see that, you know, that this thing will get to Supreme Court. You know, but before the proof, there is one significant point he made. Because people's perception of anti-corruption drive or agenda is critical. Saraki, it is a vast country. And there's so many, how many senators, how many senate presidents have we had? How many of these people, can we even differentiate between APC and PDP? Or this one, most of the leaders of APC today were leaders of PDP yesterday. We are talking about the political class. That corruption issue that EFCC is talking about, nobody is trifling with. Nobody is saying that. Everybody knows that what has held us down as a country is corruption. And that is why you see when the president was talking about it in 2015, and everybody saw the point that corruption must be fought. If we do not fight corruption, corruption will fight us, will bring us down. It's good to fight corruption, but perception of fairness in this thing, as he mentioned, is very important. Because we don't need to conduct any perception research before we know that there are so many of the SARAKI'S in this country. If he has proceedings of corruption, they are proving it in court. They have, as you said, they have a responsibility to show evidence to the court. This one is just first instance. It will get further, but that they must look for the SARAKI'S of this world. We know we cannot sit down here and say, no, we didn't find proceedings of corruption. They are the people who are accused, and they must prove to the courts, higher courts. They must prove that he did it. But the point that we should take home from here is that what EFCC is doing is not a bad thing. But they should not make us to believe that some people are being protected and some people are being hunted. And I think it is important for people to say, yes, fight it. You know that it pleases the masses to say that the big men who we accuse of bringing down Nigeria like this with proceedings of corruption, it pleases us. But it must be seen to have been done with fairness, that everybody, and you know, this is we have a very complex diversity. Multi-ethnic, multi-religious society like ours. It's not Ghana, and I don't want to join people comparing Nigeria with Ghana. This is a complex federation. How many nations within the nation? So when you are dealing with people, you should be sensitive about public opinion of what you are doing. Are you fair to all concerned? Are you fair to all the accused? Are you fair to all the rich people? Are you fair to all the politically exposed people in the country? Are we fighting corruption with fairness? With fairness, are we dealing with all the people who should be dealt with? When people are discussing in their pepper soup joints that, but look, there are some people too, like this one. Why are they not inquiring about this? These are questions that also.
But the bottom line is that
answer.
we ask that, is Saraki innocent? Did he actually acquire this house through fraud?
That's a responsibility.
Well,
Prove to
you
the
see,
court.
as journalists, we should investigate. But also, when you do your investigation, or we are doing your investigation, and those who accuse don't give you proof, what do you do? I remember some years back, I was at Next newspaper then. A lecturer from a private university came to us that he is a lecturer in a public university, but he moonlights at the private university. And that the first set of questions, a test that he did for students, he used the public university rating. And he was called. And someone by the exam officer that, look, these people paid for this thing. The standard with which you mark public school, where they pay peanuts, is not what you are going to use here. You have to... What am I saying? The guy now brought this case to us and said that we should do investigation and publish. We asked him, okay, give us the marking scheme, the one you use for public university, the one you are using there, and some scripts. And the man said, no, if he gives us, they are going to trace it to him. This same man tomorrow will accuse journalists of not doing investigation. So how do you want me to investigate? We are not lecturers. The issue is...
Let me attend to this caller. Apostle is calling us from Enugu. Thank you, Apostle, for calling us from the coal city.
Yes.
Good evening.
Thank you. This is Apostle Louis calling from Enugu.
All right, go ahead with your contribution.
I just want to talk about the SARAKI'S ordeal.
All right.
Supporting my point with that man in the middle there, the issue of punishing people, taking people to court and confiscating their property, it is what law says. But the intention, if the intention is godly, the country will improve. But if the intention is ungodly to punish some people, that That is where, at times, the country or state can be trying to develop. But what they have done somewhere, they have offended God. They continue, you know.
Apostle, we can't mix emotions with law. If there's a case against an individual, there's a case wherever the intention might be.
So you see, the issue is that all investigation need to be done. And the EFCC, as Martin has said, must come out with its own evidence that, look, okay, in all the years that this man has worked, this is what we estimated that he must have made. And this is what the house we are seizing is worth.
1 billion naira estimation.
So, and even in between that, you know, this issue is a very, very complex one and a very strong one.
Martins, don't also forget that
yes,
the same Abubakar Bukola Saraki has gone through the CCB to the Supreme Court, as a sitting Senate president, yes. And at the end of the day, they weren't able to prove any case against him. He was discharged, and
that is the point that the Yusuf Olaniyono is also making here, that they had settled this same issue, and this issue. There is a subsisting order on this issue at an Abuja High Court. Now, Lagos is giving a new order. You know, this kind of judicial...
And there are courts of coordinate
jurisdiction.
Jurisdiction, as they
say. You know, for us here as journalists, it is left for... It's not good for us to be imputing motives and all those things like that. Even people who are ministers in the Temple of Justice, the lawyers and the jurists, should continue to settle this, so that those of us who are not members, who are not part of the ministers in the Temple of Justice, will not be interpreting and be imputing motive. They too should settle some of these things. Why is EFCC disregarding the order in Abuja and coming to Lagos? These are issues that also form perception that I talked about earlier. There should be issue of fairness. Nobody is saying that we should not fight corruption, but that there should be fairness, and everybody should be convinced. People are parading billions of naira worth of property and estates too. You know, they have a responsibility to explain to the public
how they got the money.
How they got the money. It's a lesson. It's just the management. It's a lesson, because we have been on this thing for wealth in Nigeria without work. It has been an issue. Wealth without work. And sometimes you look stupid, you say, we left school together. You see some of your colleagues without even working, and they say, let's do this, let's do that. You keep wondering whether you are a creature of the same God. But this is a lesson. The majesty, again, of the law is there, but let us not have perception that there is unfairness in the deal and in the mix.
Yeah, on the final note?
Well, I hope other people or others who have held offices or who are holding office will also one day have their own comeuppance, because justice must be seen to be done and fair to all. That is why the symbol of justice is blinded, that it doesn't see anybody, whether you are high or low. Justice must be fair to all.
Olayinka, Oyegbile, I want to thank you. Thank you for your contribution. And Martin Oloja, in spite of the traffic, in spite of the urgency,
still made it.
And thank you. Hopefully, Babajide Kolade will join us tomorrow. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. And also watch Journalist Hangout on our platforms showing on the screen. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Uzubaku. Bye for now. God bless Nigeria, and see you tomorrow.